Hello, beautiful beings of light. Welcome. My name is Aurora, and this is Discover the True You. If you are a member, then welcome back. And if you have never been here before and are just stopping in, then welcome, welcome. You are stopping in for quite the kicker, this one, because we are going to be, as the sound goes off, we are going to be diving into the Lionsgate portal, and it's actually today. I'm channeling it on 8/8, and so I'm kind of nervous for it because so much information is wanting to come through. And it's really neat because I'm actually incorporating Magdalene's feast day with the day at a time, the Galactic New Year, as well as this 8/8 Lionsgate portal. And so they're all connected. It's very obvious to me, but to be able to articulate it and to illustrate it in a way that makes sense from this present moment, that is the challenge. But I really enjoy doing it, so I'm doing it. My notes are scattered, but I think I know where I'm gonna go with them. A lot of it is channeled. I tried writing it out because I wanted to have some notes to go on, but it just wasn't working. So we're kind of going on the fly here with a couple of notes. And yeah, with that, I'm just gonna get into it because yeah, it's gonna be a lot of information coming through. And I want to get it all out. Okay, so the main, I guess, energy that this video is encompassing is the Lionsgate portal. But it's actually going to be the last thing that I'm going to talk about, really, because everything is kind of going to give us a foundation for understanding the significance of the Lionsgate portal, beyond just numerologically that it's 8/8 portal and we're in the Leo energy at this time. So the first thing I want to talk about is 234, 235 on the time. There's been quite a few numbers that I've seen so far and I haven't said anything, but that's awesome because actually perfect. Yeah, perfect. So 234, 235, that is all about time, okay? So when we look at 234, we're looking at time in a linear sense. Like you have 2, 3, 4, so on, right? But when we're looking at 235, it actually is a part of a pattern, like a small part of a pattern that's greater, called the Fibonacci sequence, or called the what do I normally call it? I'm having a brain fart. It's 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. Okay, I'm having a brain fart. It's called the Fibonacci sequence, but there's another word that I want for it right now. But anyway, it creates a spiral when you draw this pattern, okay? It's a sacred geometry. And so we're looking at, no, I don't have a pen. It's obvious. So when we're looking at 234, we're looking at time from a linear perspective. When we're looking at 235, we're looking at time from more of a cyclical perspective, meaning that things go in patterns, right? And so with that, that's a cool way to begin, because August is like a giant reset, like cosmic reset button that's happening right now. And it's you could say this for so many things, but it's just really interesting that I'm starting to start channeling again and compiling all this information, and that just so happens that the second month of me doing my Discover the True You group, we are having 2 super full moons, one on August 1st, one on August 31st. And this is a cosmic reset for a larger cycle that's happening, okay? And so it's really fun because everything is aligning, okay? We're going into this place of alignment, okay? Alignment with 444 on the time. Alignment with our higher self, alignment with our true self, alignment with the parts of ourselves that are balanced, right? Look at this yin and yang here and this here, right? Very balanced. We're really calling in our higher self. Blue here is our throat chakra, and this is all about our soul's essence, our truth, our authenticity, expression. And so this is really what we're stepping into. And actually, that's a perfectly way for the Aquarian energy, okay? So the full moon on the 1st is an Aquarian full moon. And the full moon on the 31st is either a Pisces or Aquarian. And you'll see why that's funny in itself as well as I continue explaining all of these cosmic alignments to you. And so as we're stepping into this Aquarian energy for all of August here, it's like incorporating the Leo energy while incorporating this Venus energy that we're going through, while also incorporating this Aquarian energy that we're stepping into, okay? And so again, I'm bringing that up when I'm talking about our throat chakra, our truth center, our soul essence, and our expression, okay? And so Aquarius energy is all about individuality in the whole. So it's like each person is significant in the whole, but also recognizing that within that, we're each unique individual being. So it's like if we can nourish and nurture the fact that we're each different and individual beings, can you imagine how humanity would thrive, right? And it's like that's the Aquarian energy. Aquarian energy is all about the teacher. That's the archetype for it. And so it's like teaching self, but also teaching others. And there's like 7-7 on this box over here that's getting my attention right now. And so it's wanting me to say as well, spiritual connection, right? So again, we're gaining this higher awareness of ourselves. It's like the Piscean age that we're coming out of was very victim, very martyr, spiritual, meaning we had to dissolve into the whole. Our individual selves didn't really matter. But now that individual self is kind of like, I guess that's a really neat analogy I just saw. So the Piscean age was like we were being buried. We were being buried and pushed down and pushed down. But during that time of us being buried, we were actually still growing and evolving and pushing through. And so we're actually able to come out now in the Aquarian age as the seed that's now seeding out of the ground, right? That's the analogy that I just saw. And so instead of seeing the Piscean age as a very like kind of dark and uncomfortable time for humanity, we can kind of come out of that and see like, oh, okay, I can see now how like the Piscean age is the spiritual age and really how it was the fertilizer for us to really step into this next phase of the evolution of humans, right? And so with that, we're having this activation on the 1st and the 31st, so it's overarching the entire month. And when you have 2 full moons in the same month, it's called a blue moon, okay? So I know that we think once in a blue moon isn't actually that common, but it's as common as your birthday. It happens once a year, and that's due to the Gregorian calendar. And I think this is where I'm gonna start talking about the Gregorian calendar, because that is the calendar that we currently use at this time to keep time, right? We know January to December, 12 months, then we go from there. We don't really pay attention to the celestial bodies. It doesn't really matter to us. We have Monday to Sunday. That leads us to the 365 days in the year. Every 4 years, we have a leap year to make up for that one day that glitches the time, right? Which is why I started this as the time changing, right? With the linear and the quantum, because that's what's going on right now, is that we're shifting from this linear perspective into this more quantum perspective, right? And so with that, I lost my train. Aquarian to the Piscean. Oh well, no problem. We'll just start from where we are. So yeah, so basically, we're being activated into this this energy of the Aquarian age, and no, it wants to come through. So linear to quantum. We're shifting our perspective from linear to yeah, the calendars. So the calendar. So the Gregorian calendar, that's what we present day experience. This was shifted back in the Roman Empire times. I don't want to give like a proper time because I always mix them up with like Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar and who was actually in power when it all shifted. But either or, that is an important shift when the Gregorian calendar was implemented and the 13 moon cycle calendar was taken out. And now I'm gonna say what the 13 moon calendar cycle is, and it's just that. And I called it that first, but other people will call it the galactic calendar. And that's where you use the moon as your tracker of time, and so you have moon from moon to moon is each month, right? So you have 13 moon phases every year. Whether you're in the Gregorian calendar or the 13 moon calendar, it's just in the Gregorian calendar they would call it a blue moon. They call it a blue moon, whereas in the galactic calendar or the 13 moon calendar, it's accounted for because the moon is actually the parameter of time. And so that's something that wants to be mentioned right now, because it's like there's going to be a lot of like uncertainty of like, is the Lionsgate portal actually relevant or not, and like what is it actually? And it's an alignment with our greater central sun, okay? And so we have this source, where source is, where all things are, all things come from. It's like that's the center, and it's like we're out here experiencing the cycles and rhythms that happen that bring us around this center here, right? It's like our earth goes around the sun, which then our sun goes around the greater central sun, right? There's many other suns, I'm sure, but I'm going right to the source here. And so with that, it's like we're aligning back each time, each year, the earth aligns to the sun, which aligns to our greater central sun, and it allows for us to have this connection to like this spiritual connection, this greater connection to ourselves and to the cosmos, right? And so this is all part of the glitch and part of the time shift, and why things are all kind of like, whoa, like what's actually what, because we shifted from the Gregorian calendar to this now from the galactic calendar to this Gregorian calendar, which has shifted the way that we perceive time, right? And so with that, and it's just 13 on the time. 13 is the divine feminine number. And so anyway, with that, there's going to be this shift in time, because it's like we're kind of recalibrating back to our cosmic timeline, our cosmic self, our higher self, our soul self. And so we're gonna like kind of be feeling like maybe a Monday doesn't feel like a Monday anymore, and a Sunday doesn't feel like a Sunday anymore, and like we're feeling kind of discombobulated, and we don't really know, like we're not really feeling like certain days are feeling certain days, or like we're just feeling like time's kind of weird. It's like because we're actually going through this like ultimate cosmic reset. But right now at this time we're going through like I want to say like a micro of the macro. So like this is like now setting the scale for the whole, right? And it's like, so as we're going through each time we are refining, right? So each time we're meeting back at this point every year, we're refining our connection to our higher self and to source, and with that refining, each time we're getting more in alignment just naturally and astrologically from the cycles and rhythms that are naturally occurring. And so they'll work in tandem to help us to kind of like shed away the old and bring in the new, right? And so it's like, that's why it's really cool to work with these like greater cycles. So if you're wondering what cycle I'm referring to, it's called the precession of the equinox, and it's a 26,000 year cycle, and it's for our sun to go around the greater central sun. Okay, and so we're coming out of the Piscean age and we're entering into the Aquarian age, and this comes from doing one clock around the astrological clock. And right now we just happen to be at the end and the beginning, where the Piscean is the end, where it's wrapping up all that's been, and we're now rebirthing and stepping into the Aquarian age and our Aquarian self, right? And so that's where like the Piscean age is all about really forgiveness, a lot of heart healing, and reprogramming is what I'm hearing, right? Just reprogramming our lack and really just our trauma that's happened. And so now we're learning, oh wait, no, I actually do matter. And so the more that we learn that we matter, the more that we're going to manifest more matter in our life, right? Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it at that for the activation for this August, because I got a lot of really key information out explaining that. So just to recap, on August 1st, we had the Aquarius super full moon, which is the second super full moon. I think we have 4 this year, or maybe every year, I don't know. 4, so this is the second super full moon of this year, and then we're gonna have the 3rd super full moon come the last day of August, so opening August and closing August with super full moons. And the last one is either going to be Aquarius or Pisces. I'm not sure. I'm getting mixed information on that right now. But either or, it actually isn't really mixed information, because as I just explained everything to you, they're kind of hand in hand, and hilarious that is what that's what August is being activated into with this super full moon energy. And so you guys know, the moon actually governs our emotions, and our emotions is the part of us, of our soul, that actually gets brought through lifetimes, right? Like that's why they're quantum, because you can have multiple thoughts or experiences to the one emotion. And so like actually what's happening, what I'm saying is, when I say that it's a super full moon, it's like it governs our emotions, and this is going back to source. So it's like almost like we're purifying our DNA and like our life experiences and our soul. We're going back to the beginning, so that we can now move forward from the highest, most pure place. And this isn't all happening like now, today. It's like this is a lifelong endeavor, but this is the activation time right now. And so like whenever you're finding this video, I'm recording it in real time at this Lionsgate portal energy, but like all my videos, this is a timeless message, which means that I set the intention that anybody that's in need of this information, when the time comes, that it aligns with them and it meets them exactly when they need. And so with that, this is a message that it's going to be getting to people whenever, wherever, however, in due time, in divine time, for them to find it. So they could find it 5, 10, 20 years down the road, but right now I'm channeling it for 2023, but that doesn't mean that we're all at the same place, okay? And so with all of that, that was fun. I think that, well, I was gonna do Magdalene's feast day first. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Magdalene's feast day. Okay. So, oh, they want to say 12. Okay. So we're gonna look at really just some overarching themes here with Magdalene's feast day, the day at a time. I'm going to pair that with the Galactic New Year and then the Lionsgate Portal. I'm really just touching, I think, I hope, on a lot of these, because there's just so much that's going to want to come through that I have to keep it chill. Okay, so the first thing I want to kind of touch on is like, so Magdalene's feast day. So basically, Magdalene's feast day to me is really about like reclaiming of the divine feminine, okay? And it's important because I say she for Magdalene, but just the feminine as a whole is really like been written out of human consciousness at this time, and that's okay because it was necessary, but now she's rising, okay? And so within each and every one of us, we're going to be experiencing something called the divine feminine rising, and this is our emotional self, this is our soul self, this is the part of ourselves that most of us have suppressed most of our life because it's not actually supported in this world or in this environment. And so we've really put on this masculine role and masculine mask, if you will, so that we're safe and so that we can move through the world with this hard shell without being hurt and without being vulnerable. But now we're actually being called to be more sensitive and to be more vulnerable and to honor those parts of ourselves, right? And so Magdalene's feast day is really, for me, about honoring our divine feminine. And, there's a lot of grief that is connected in with that. And I know that for myself, I was feeling a lot of heavy heart at that time. Venus also went retrograde that day, July 22nd. So that's important to note because Venus is actually is the planet of beauty, of wealth, of prosperity. And so again, the divine feminine, really, of royalty, right? And so that's like what that day represents for me. And Magdalene for me is just it's like a bunch of experiences and deep understanding so that I can connect in and have my own personal connection with the divine feminine. And Magdalene is just one of the key players in my path, as well as Isis, and going back to Egypt, into those goddesses, because it's actually a lineage. There's Isis and Magdalene are actually really the same soul, which is the divine feminine embodied. And it's like, if you follow the story, if you follow the stories that are interwoven throughout each of the stories, like whether it's Greek mythology or Hinduism or whatever, I mean, there's going to be overlapping concepts, archetypes. And so that's what I'm talking about, right? And so it's like, at this time, the divine feminine is rising, and it's like, this is why there's a lot of like the feminist movement of like very masculine women saying like, we can do what men can do. And it's like, well, that's actually not feminine, right? Like, it's like, you don't really get what being feminine means then, and like, that's okay, we all have our own expression, but there's an expression of the wounded feminine and there's an expression of the healed feminine or the divine feminine. And for me, like, whoa, this last year has really been showing me and distilling me and gifting me all of my darkness so that I can rise up and choose to be the divine feminine instead of falling into the wounded feminine over and over again. And so this is all part of the process of embodying the divine feminine more and more as it's our sensitivity, it's our emotions. And again, this is the cycle. This is the cycle, the cyclical part of you. Your emotions are going to come and they're going to go. And it's really about learning to honor them and listen to them as they are coming and as they are going. That's truly, from a human's perspective, the divine feminine experience is to honor your emotions, honor your body, nurture yourself, listen to yourself, care for yourself. You see why, if all of us embraced this aspect of ourselves, how we would be able to thrive? So when we take all of the human convoluted perceptions of what the divine feminine is, and we can just distill it into those couple words that I just said, then that is really what, when I can connect in with Magdalene, what she wants for us to do. To honor the cycles and the rhythms of life. Honor your cycles and rhythms. Honor your emotions. Okay? It's reclaiming those parts of you. Not pushing them away anymore, but really reclaiming those parts of ourselves. So it's time to fully see and hear ourselves in our own personal pains and suffering. So yeah, Magdalene really holds, like I said before, a lot of the grief, the pain, the suffering for humanity. The heart of humanity. And so you're being asked to learn to cultivate a safe space for yourself to be able to soften. Okay? And so it's like, when you have your pain and your suffering, stop running from it and sit with it and hold yourself in it. Your physical body is like begging to just be held or to just be still. And so it's like, that's the divine feminine. When we can learn to be or to understand how we're being, that's the divine feminine. It's like the divine feminine is how we do something. Okay? And so with that, how are you holding onto your pains and your sufferings? And are you holding on to them, or are you learning to hold yourself through them? So forgiveness of past experiences is, again, another really, really big energy that's surfacing from this day, is like really cultivating for us to like kind of see ourselves from a rebirthed self, to see ourselves from the pure vessel that we actually truly are in the sense of our soul, right? And so it's like, sure, your human has experiences and different things that are keeping you in these patterns, but understand that like once you can hold that pattern in your hand and bring it outside of you and recognize that that's actually what's going on, and then change that, then you're able to actually move through that, right? And so it's like learning how to cultivate this almost deep reverence for life is what I hear. You are that. And so when you can learn to cultivate this deep reverence for yourself, then you'll be able to cultivate this deep reverence for life. And that is what the divine feminine is calling for us. And again, back to the cycles and back to the rhythms, connecting in with the seasons, feeding your body the foods that are harvested during the seasons of that time, and the land that your home is, because that is actually what your body is going to really thrive on. So again, all of that, I guess, was for forgiveness, and I just alchemized it into taking action, into loving yourself. So that's really what the forgiveness is. It's like, forgiveness isn't just the heart, it's actually the action too. It's like, you can want to forgive and you can wish to forgive, but we're really being called to take the action to move through that heart pain and that suffering. And that's for yourself and for others, right? Okay, and then I have 22 here. It was July 22nd is Magdalene's feast day. This is a master number, and I have balancing out our foundations because 2 is all about balance. We have two twos, and 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 is our foundation. So it's like we have the 2 here balancing, the 2 here balancing. Those are balancing together, creating the foundation. And so I have inner and outer balance and harmony through nurturing. So you will be able to achieve this inner and outer balance and harmony through your choice of nurturing. Okay, and then I have, I'm gonna do it. Okay, so I have the red rose teachings and I have the blue rose teachings. These are like whole rabbit holes here, but like we're gonna basically sum it up into very basic and easy understanding, because it's like I can't even get into like the level and the depth of the red blue code, which then becomes the purple code, red blue purple code, but it all has to do with this reality, and it's like so cool and so neat, and the way that it shows up is so fascinating. But I'm gonna leave it really simply for you, that the red rose teachings, this was Magdalene's teachings last time. So Magdalene's teachings last time was the red rose teachings, which was what I just shared with you, which is that, you know, the compassion, the love, and the forgiveness, really honoring that, anchoring that in more like selflessness, experiencing life. It's like the red, it's the blood, okay? And then the blue rose teachings, these are teachings that I've tapped into and understood, is connecting in with the cosmic self, connecting into the astrological alignments, and connecting into the soul self, right? So it's like the red rose teachings are like this very internal, but like not even just internal, very like experiential, like human experience. Hope this makes sense, because I'm just kind of like, I obviously haven't mastered it. These are concepts, like these are huge concepts, and I'm trying to just give you the best example with Magdalene here. But so yeah, with the red rose teachings, it's all about the forgiveness, it's all about the love and the compassion and the empathy and the selflessness, so that we can understand and cultivate that for others, but then also for ourselves, right? And then the cosmic teachings are teaching us how to ascend, right? The red rose is the descend, and the blue rose is the ascend, right? And so it's like when we connect in with our blue higher self, that's going to bring us higher into a more harmonized frequency, if you will. And when we're going into the red rose, that's where all of the chaos and the pain and the suffering of human life resides. And so it's like that's where you have the red and the blue rose teachings come together, so that you can fall and rise at the same time. Catch yourself while you're falling. So that's a pretty awesome basic explanation of the red and blue rose teachings. And Rosie is on this box here, and I almost said Rosie when I said that. I think I'm getting a call, but too bad. Okay, good. We're good. I just had to check. But yeah, so that is a quick little synopsis of the red rose and blue rose teachings from Magdalene's perspective, through my lens. And then, so the next thing I have here, which I did already mention, but I'm going to say it in a different context, and it's honoring the divine feminine in all of her phases, right? Because again, the divine feminine is the cycles and is the rhythm of life. So with that, that's the cycles, the cosmic cycles, right? That's like coming back to ourselves. That's our emotional self, right? So here I have the mother maiden crone, okay? So when you look at a lifetime of a woman, she starts as the maiden, becomes the mother, and then embodies the wisdom of the crone, the life experience, right? So it's like that is the three kind of compartmentalized sections of the divine feminine, right? And so when you can dive into each of these in the present moment and pull from different times and walks of life, it allows for you to embody more of the divine feminine. When you listen, divine feminine is listening, right? And so when we can learn to embody more of the divine feminine, that's when we're going to start finding this balance within us, because most of us are dominant in the masculine energies, and so and then our feminine is wounded because it's not heard and our emotions don't matter and we're not seen. And so it's like finding that balance, learning to see yourself, learning to love yourself, learning to honor yourself and your cycles and your rhythm. So the mother, maiden, crone, honoring of the divine feminine in all her phases, includes the emotional self. So grieving and suffering and connecting in with our sensitive side, right? Is that you're not too sensitive, you're not to this, you're not to that. You are just sensitive, and how are you going to move through that? And then last but not least, I have that the divine feminine is truly the ultimate space holder of our love. So our capacity to love ourselves is mirrored. So at this time, because again, like I said, Venus is retrograde, so that's why this is significant. We're going to be really moving through these energies within ourselves, being shown where we need to start taking better care of ourselves, where maybe we don't care for ourselves and maybe we need to, right? Things like this, maybe money matters might be coming up because we don't think that we're worthy, or things like that, right? So it's like really using our external environment and our inner world to communicate with one another so that you can see like where you're being where you're showing up for yourself and where you're not showing up for yourself. So that is a quick little recap for Magdalene's feast day. Now this is all about the divine feminine being activated, okay? And so this is important because Magdalene's feast day was placed on July 22nd, which might seem just like an ambiguous day, but it actually, and it is actually, they just kind of threw it on there just because they're like, we're going to honor her and like, thank you. And so with that, it happens to be 3 days before the Day at a Time, which is just before the Galactic New Year, right? And so fascinating that we're going to be now moving into talking about the Day at a Time. I really don't have very many notes for the rest, for the Day at a Time and for the Galactic New Year, but I'm really just going to be channeling a lot of how these energies are influencing us at this time. Okay, and so the next thing I have here is the Day out of time, okay? Let me see. I might have. No. Okay. Yeah. So basically, the Day at a Time, as I have already said, is actually, it's the space between the day between the end of 1 year in the galactic calendar and the beginning of the next year in the galactic calendar. In the Gregorian calendar, we have that day that's made up by calling it a leap year every 4 years. We add an extra day into February, but we actually in the galactic calendar have a day specifically carved out for the space between, which is so cool. So really that is what the Day at a Time is. And when we are sitting in that day, it's like a day of timelessness, a day of rest, a day to be in the the womb of creation, if you will, like to get all comfy cozy and to really use that day to cultivate the divine feminine. This is all the divine feminine, actually, this whole day, because they actually call it like the cosmic womb. And so it's like, this is the space between for us to pause. And a lot of us don't actually gift ourselves with that. Knowing that something is ending and something is beginning, and just enjoying that space between. We're usually just ready to get to the next, right? And so again, the day at a time is really calling for us to honor the divine feminine of the cycles and of the rhythms, and knowing where we're at within the cycles and rhythms. That's what wants to come through. Knowing where you're at within your cycles and rhythms, okay? And how to nurture and nourish yourself through those times. Okay, beautiful. And so the next thing, and the only thing I have here, is that also the day at a time was the opening for the portal for the 8/8 portal, which is today. And so I'm not really sure how accurate that is. I don't really sure what that means, but I thought it was really interesting. One second. But I thought that to be very interesting because it made sense with the with what the Lionsgate portal is. And so what the Lionsgate portal is it's when our sun aligns with the Sirius constellation, which aligns with the greater central sun, right? And so this alignment is allowing for us to have an influx of energy of these higher frequencies to be able to upgrade us, to be able to shed what isn't serving us, and for us to step in. And it's like Leo is all about the solar plexus, and so it's like giving us that life force energy, right? Like here in the northern hemisphere, we're just coming out of summer and into fall. Like this is the last bit of summer happening in August, and so it's like the sun energy is actually leaving us now. And so it's like on the day at a time is when the opening of the beginning of the portal for the 8/8 portal begins, which makes sense because then during that time, depends on where you're at, where you are on the planet, where you are on the planet depends on where the alignment is going to be. So the 8/8 portal is supposedly when the Sphinx in Egypt aligns with this constellation. And again, it's all messed up now because of the just time and in general, the way that we've been tracking it isn't actually proper, if you will, to the cosmic time. And so that's why like the dates and the different things, people will get like upset about it, but it's like really when you can look at the galactic calendar and see the why and like the greater understanding of what we're talking about, it really does make sense to celebrate the 8/8 portal. And it really isn't an ambiguous thing. It can be, but it's really not when you understand the larger perspective of the precession of the equinox and the way that our where we're at in relation to the greater central sun and how everything is all aligned, right? And so it's like just depends on your perspective and your awareness and what matters to you, really. And so with that, I invite us to actually honor the Lionsgate portal more as the solar plexus, fire energy, sun energy, the masculine, that's kind of giving us that push through the last couple weeks and the next couple weeks of us going through our deep emotional purging with the feminine energies that I was just speaking of, right? So it's like back on July 22nd was Magdalene's feast day, but it was also when Venus went retrograde. Venus is going to stay retrograde for I think about 6 weeks until the beginning of September. And so we still have from August 8th another couple of weeks until we are coming out of the Venus retrograde energies, which again has to do with that Magdalene's feast day and the divine feminine rising. And it's like she's going into her underworld at this time. We're going into into our subconscious. We're going into the parts of ourselves we haven't wanted to look at, and we're looking at it without the choice, because the Leo fire energy is coming through to shine the light and say, this isn't working. It's going to burn it up and send it all back to source. And so then you get to basically reset, right? So that's again why it's so important to use your energy at this time to keep resetting your thought patterns and your emotions and your practices that you're doing, making sure you're eating healthy foods, things like this at this time, getting a lot of sleep, just taking care, nurture. It was just 44 on the time. And so again, this is all to do with the day at a time. And so creating space for you is what I hear. It's like learning to create space, cultivate space so that you do matter. Because again, like I said, the more that you realize that you matter, the more that you're going to be able to manifest physical matter, right? And so with that, learning to nurture ourselves, our own individual unique selves, and honor our connection to a higher power, that is where the secret sauce is going to be. Okay, let's see. And then the Galactic New Year. So again, it's just that there's really not too much to say. I don't even have it written down, but I did want to mention it because that was on July 26th, okay? And so on July 26th was the beginning of this new Galactic New Year. And so that actually means that a couple days into that, we celebrated the first full moon, actually. So this super full moon, okay, there we go. That's why this is needing to come up. So this first super full moon, the Aquarius super full moon, wasn't just overarching August. It's actually the first full moon of this new galactic year. So that's pretty cool, pretty fascinating. And as I said, that's resetting, that's hitting the ultimate Aquarian reset button from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age right here, right now, in real time. August, clearly, because I'm getting more confirmation that we're now going and entering into this new year, galactic new year, and the first full moon that we have is the Aquarian super full moon, and the second that we're going to have is the Piscean / Aquarian super full moon. So, and then the Leo new moon in the middle to help activate us to plant seeds for us to learn how to nourish ourselves and to be a bit more selfish in our lives. Okay, and then last but not least, guys, the Lionsgate portal. So let's see, what do we got? What do we got here? The Lionsgate portal. Okay, so I did, yes, and actually I just said that. That's so funny. Okay, well, I wanted to mention, the first thing I wanted to mention with this Lionsgate portal was that we're in between right now. Last week we had the Aquarian super full moon. Next week we're having the Leo new moon. And so this Lionsgate portal activation is in the middle of these two moon phases, okay? And so it's like we had the super full moon one week, then we have the Lionsgate portal the next, then we have the new moon the next week, and then I think we have one more week, Mercury retrograde the next week, and then we have the Pisces Aquarian super full moon. It was just 40:05 on the time. Oh no, it's not. There's something on my screen. 48:08. But anyway, so I'm just mentioning all this because we're in this very in-between energy, and that's why it's no mistake that I had to talk about Magdalene's feast day, the day at a time mostly, because again, there's this crazy time thing happening where we're shifting. It's even like our sense of self and ego and like how long we've been alive is going to be changing, like shifting how we feel about that. Like so much of our perception is shifting. And so with that, really being gentle with yourself, really listening to yourself, really holding yourself. This is why the divine feminine energies are really going to be important for us to be embodying at this time. And every time we have like this lower energy come through that's kind of like hard on us, it's like we want that soft feminine to come in to encourage us up out of that, okay? And so it's like that's the energy that Leo energy is going to be that for us, the elevation. It's like the soft voice that rises us, right? So it's like knowing that we're protected with this Leo energy is allowing for the divine feminine to rise. And again, it's that solar plexus energy, knowing that we're connected to source and to our higher selves, right? And just the benevolence of the world, just the goodness of the world. Okay, so again, I have here Sirius, Earth, and Orion constellation are aligning. That is the Lionsgate portal. Leo energy is really about living life to the fullest from the heart center. And that's why it's like going to give us that masculine lifting up energy, because it's just the very light-hearted energy, okay? But that's why we're going to have to process the grief. That's the other side of the light-hearted energy, is the heavy-hearted energy. And so in order for us to access this light-hearted energy side of us, we have to sit and hold ourselves in our grief and in our pain, so that way we can enjoy that breath of fresh air when it comes. Okay, and so with that, this Lionsgate portal is going to be disturbing our old paradigms, the way that we see the world and see things, our old unhealthy habits and thinking patterns. So again, replacing them, upgrading them, and really like calling you to step up. Like, are your beliefs in alignment with how you would like to live? So you're really being called to step up at this time. That Leo energy saying step up, you can do better. You can do better, and I know you can. And then next thing I have here to kind of just take note of is that you might be having a lot of mood shifts. You might have excessive tiredness. Lots of dreams, lack of mental clarity. Now, all this, again, can be remedied with just slowing down, not having too many things on your schedule, practicing mindfulness even just throughout your day, but saving time for yourself to go out in nature, to practice yoga or just exercise. Anything that's going to induce sweating in the body is going to help to purify the body. And so we're really being called at this time to help the body purify, help the body cleanse. And then keep a journal to reflect your thoughts and your emotions, so that way as you're going through your mood shifts and your excessive tiredness and when you're having your crazy dreams, you can just look at your journal and go, oh, right, okay, it's all good. We're just moving through these energies. And the more that I allow to come up, the more that I'm able to not have to go through later. It just makes it all easier to just give yourself the space and the grace to deal with what's coming up now. And then last but not least, here I have deep identity questioning. So your personal and your relationship choices of what is best for you and others is going to be coming into question at this time. And that's why it's really important to cultivate this connection in with yourself, in with your heart. Because again, that's what the Leo energy is. The Lionsgate portal is connecting us in with our heart, is like rising that self-worth into our good feelings. And so then how are we going to take the action to continue to nourish ourselves and how we need, right? So it's like there's going to be this questioning of your identity, but that's because, again, like I said, we're having this old and new integration that's happening, and there's a lot of energies going on right now. So like what you once maybe were able to handle, or what you normally can handle, you aren't maybe able to at this time, and that's okay. Again, don't be hard on yourself. Let that divine feminine voice come in and let you know that all is well, and that you're exactly where you need to be, and that if you need to take a break, then to take a break, because there's no point in doing work that isn't of quality. Okay, and so that's what your higher self says. Just listen to your body, listen to your heart, listen to what you need. This is a huge activation at this time, and the crumbling is going to come with a rise. So know that as things are falling apart, it is gifting you a new way to live life. Though it may not feel that way, believe me, I get it. I get it. But I promise you that everything that you're going through has been given to you for you to teach you. You can never be given more than you can handle. I know it might feel like that, but that is just the truth of reality and the universe, that if you weren't able to handle it, you wouldn't be given it. And so trust yourself and believe in yourself and give yourself the nourishment and the foundation to be able to handle it. All right, so that's that, guys. I am channeled out. I just did almost an hour video here, and I haven't done that for a long time. So with that, happy Magdalene's Feast Day, happy day at a time, happy Galactic New Year, happy Venus retrograde, happy Mercury retrograde next week, happy Leo new moon, and then happy Lionsgate Portal 2023. So I hope that this found you well. If you enjoy this content, I will not be posting videos this long, but this one I think I'm going to put out to the public just because it was so dense and so juicy. But if you did enjoy and you want to join the membership, then join the Discover the True You membership. It is $33 a month, and you get to keep in the rhythmic flow with myself and with Cosmos, and just tap in with me every week and follow along. So thank you. I love you, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye.